I made an oops. Turned out I was supposed to review this before even starting to review Season 3. So that's my bad. I apologize. I don't really have a punishment to give myself, so screw it. I'm just going to review it right now. What's up? What's happening? What's going on? Welcome back to Animation. Welcome back to, full live action movie review mode because we're reviewing a TV movie. One that I should have reviewed before I even started reviewing Season 3 of this show, but apparently I was not informed, and I apologize because I guess I should have known. Because I'm usually doing research all the time before I even film these videos, so that's a lay whoops on my part, and I assume that each special from here on out is going to take place right before each season, so I will try my best not to make this mistake again. And with all that said, let's get into the reason why we're all even here. And that is to review the first of the Miraculous TV movies, titled Miraculous World, New York, United Heroes. I've heard about this one. I heard about being very good. My one friend called it amazing. And now that I have seen it for myself, I do have some thoughts about it. But I'll put it this way. Just like the thumbnail of this video says, this is a very, very good special and an admirable first attempt at a special at that. But it has one huge flaw. Now, granted, I'm going to keep this spoiler-free just like I do with all my other movie reviews, so I'm not going to talk about the specifics or go into every single little detail. No, instead, I'm just going to treat this like I do my normal movie reviews. Just ramble for a little bit, give it a little bit of an introduction, and then on to the written review, final thoughts, yada yada yada. You guys have heard this song and dance before, so without further ado, and since the intro is already done, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. This is my written review for Miraculous World, New York, United Heroes. Please don't raise hell over it, it's just my opinion. So with that all done, said, and out of the way, let's dive in. So, I made an oops. Turns out I was supposed to review this feature-length special before starting Season 3. That's my bad, and to make up for it, I'm reviewing it now. And for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call it a movie because it's about as long as one, and the Miraculous Wiki also labels this as a TV movie. So, thus, I label it as a TV movie. So, let's continue. Anywho's, with that out of the way, and having now seen this, what do I personally think about Miraculous's first TV movie? Overall, it's very good, and for the first ever of the franchise, it's rather impressive in both its ambition and its overall execution. With that said, though, it's not perfect, and it does have one huge flaw that greatly harms specifically the second half of the adventure. But let's start with the positives first before we dig into its one big problem. The animation is great. Obviously, it's still budget, but it's still great. They also have a lot of fun with the camera work, and now that they have a bigger city to play around in, they do take advantage of that, and it is really, really cool. The new characters introduced, specifically the USA Miraculous heroes, are really cool. The story is ambitious and mostly very focused. The writing is strong, the dialogue is really good, the growing relationship/friendship between Adrian and Marinette is adorable and very funny, especially in this one where there's so many gags about Marinette being a klutz while trying to also talk to Adrian. It's freaking hilarious. It's so funny. The humor is good and provides a few good laughs. The designs of the USA Miraculous heroes, while taking obvious inspiration from both Marvel and especially DC, are very cool and feel very unique in the world of this franchise. The world building is excellent and vastly expands the lore. The characters are in character all throughout. None of them feel out of character or, out of place. The emotional moments, while having some issues, still hit hard when they need to. The stakes and tension are pretty high. The fights are decent. Just decent. And rewatchability is on the higher end. Especially when I eventually start rewatching the entire show after I finish reviewing the entire show. Moving on to the mixed aspects, and this is probably just a me thing, but the voice acting from the main characters in this one felt strangely off. It is the same cast as the show itself. Heck, I even looked it up on IMDb just to make sure it was the same cast. It is, in fact, the same cast. But the voice direction was noticeably different as all the characters' voices sounded a bit more deep and adult, which at first gave me some pretty big whiplash, because I watched this back to back after watching episode 6, which is the next review. However, I got used to it fairly quickly, and the voice acting itself was still great, so it's not really an issue per se, it's just worth pointing out. So, in other words, this movie's voice acting is a lot like, the big Netflix movie's voice acting. It's different from the show, it's more cinematic, it's more deep and adult with the voices, but it's still really, really good performances. So, let's stop dancing around it. What is this movie's one big flaw? Simply put, the pacing. It starts off at a nice, steady, slow pace through most of it, and sets up everything quite well. But the issue arises when you realize it's not until 40 minutes in we actually have the first battle of the episode. Well, not episode, sorry, TV movie, which means that they spent way too much time setting up and left very little time for the payoff, which causes the pacing to suddenly escalate to an unbelievable speed out of nowhere, and a lot happens in the last 20 minutes of this movie, so it has to literally rush through everything. Even the well-done dramatic moments feel incredibly rushed, as they don't last longer than 1 or 2 minutes. Which causes the third act final battle to only be 5 minutes long, which, especially in a TV movie, is not enough time to give a satisfying conclusion. And on the fact that this is a much longer project than the standard episode of this show, and it becomes an even more damaging issue, because with more runtime, it should have completely prevented this issue from happening, and yet it still did anyway. How? I legit question how it still has pacing problems despite being way longer than your normal Miraculous episode. Then for the little gripes I have that aren't really flaws, they're just little things pointing out. There's also a side plot with Sabrina that goes nowhere. Ladybug getting annoyed with Cat Noir, which is usually funny, but in this one, it just felt mean-spirited and it got really, really tiring after a while. The Adrian Marinette thing that was pretty much the big main plot of this movie has no resolution and just straight up ends in the middle of the third act. And a few inconsistencies that just left me scratching my head. It's hard to say without spoilers, but I'll just say that there is some inconsistencies, and they did leave me a bit confused. Even with all that said, though, this is still a really good movie. Ambitious, action-packed, cute, funny, emotional, and just overall a lot of fun to watch. Yes, the issues are pretty apparent, and I stand by what I said, but I still really enjoyed it overall, and it's still an impressive first attempt at a bigger adventure for the franchise. This came out in 2020. 3 years before the actual big Netflix Miraculous movie. So that's going to bring me to my final verdict. It may be a little controversial, but it's still positive, so please don't start railing on me in the comments, okay? Final verdict for Miraculous World New York United Heroes is a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10. Definitely flawed, but still recommended for fans of the show. Just make sure to not make the same mistake I did, and make sure to watch this before watching Season 3. It does give a little bit of extra context. Hopefully the other specials improve on the solid foundation this one created, because the potential is still there to make a truly great TV movie for this franchise. So, sadly not great and very flawed, but I had a really good time with this one, and while I don't think it's as amazing as some people say, it's still a really good watch, and I do recommend it if you haven't seen it. And considering this show has, what, 6 more specials? Let me see. Let me check the wiki real quick. Let's see. Shanghai, Paris, Rio, London, Dakar, and Tokyo. And then there's the one-night mission. I have no doubt that probably the other specials are better, and they did learn from their mistakes with this one. Will I end up being right or wrong? Only time will tell, because this is still going to go on for a few more years, because there's still, 2 more seasons of Miraculous? Almost 3, because I think they're on season 6 currently. So this is going to go on for a few more years before I actually get that answer. But as of right now, this is a 7 out of 10. This is still a very good TV movie, and it's very impressive considering that this is the first ever movie of the franchise. So, yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Like I said, this is spoiler-free, so I can't really go full deep dive into it, but it's a pretty good special. I enjoyed it. And that's pretty much all I can say. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. I gotta get used to saying that. And stay tuned because you do have the review of episode 6 coming, as well as the review of the first 2 Kung Fu Panda movies. Because I'm still playing catch up, even though I thought I caught up yesterday. Oops. Oh well, whatever. Until we meet again, I'm Jet Small of Animation Station. I'll see you next time. Peace.